It's instructive for us, though, to consider the ways that the Father sent the Son. What are some of the defining characteristics of how Jesus was sent? We could note that Jesus was sent in humility. Jesus was sent in obscurity. We could note that Jesus was sent in power, and Jesus was sent under the announcement of angels with shepherds keeping watch. We could note that Jesus was sent in poverty and powerlessness. Or we could reflect on Jesus being sent in the company of others who traveled and ministered with him in community. All of these and so many other more, they're worthy of their own sermons and sermon series. But the two that I want us to remember just this morning, just as I make my way towards the end, is to remember that Jesus was sent in love and that Jesus was sent in person. How did the Father send the Son? Well, the Father so loved the world that he gave his one and only Son. Whosoever believes wouldn't perish. For God didn't apostolo his Son into the world to condemn the world, but to save it. God so loved the world that he sent, that he missioned his Son. Our engagement in the world, our joining of God's kingdom-expanding work, it's got to have that same motivation. It's got to be motivated by love. God's love towards us, God's love towards the world that he created. Any of our work of justice must be motivated and animated by love. Our acts of compassion and right-making must be motivated and animated by God's love. If our care for those that are caught in poverty does not reflect God's love, if our advocacy for affordable housing does not point to God's great love, if our preaching and praying and prophesying and protesting doesn't sound like the voice of a God who loves, and the Bible tells us that we're just like clanging cymbals and noisy gongs. Christ City, as we join with the saints at any of the ministries that we partner with, DC Unity and Justice, World Relief, as we stand with advocates championing truly affordable housing through the Washington Interfaith Network, as we support families through Minor Mutual Aid or the Angel Scroggins Memorial Fund, or any of the ways, we do so because we're sent to the city to be ambassadors, carrying God's love and displaying God's message of love. The Father sent the Son by way of love, and that's how we have to be sent. But he also sent the Son in person. Jesus was incarnated, flesh and blood, skin and bones, present in mind and body. Jesus didn't love from a distance, and neither should we. When we first launched Christ City, I remember I wrote this in 2017, Jesus took on flesh and blood, lived in a neighborhood and identified with a people. And so we also root ourselves in a neighborhood and identify with a people. Our place is the Washington, D.C. area. And while many come to the city to consume it and to use it, we want to be among those that love it. What's captured in this statement is a vision for us to be a people, collectively and individually, to embody our sent-ness, to be a people of presence. For many of us, presence is going to be neighborhood presence. Christ City has long had a history of bending towards geographic, local neighborhood presence. Some of that's changing as our community's footprint is growing a bit. But even still, there are those in your life, saints. There are those, maybe not your immediate geographic neighbors, but those that God wants you to recognize your sent-ness towards. Maybe colleagues at work. The Lord's prompting you to care for, care about in more intentional ways. Maybe folks in your social spheres or your networks that you're a part of. Maybe it's your gaming crews, sports teams, knitting circles, drinking buddies. Someone in your life that God is wanting you to remind that they are loved, and by God that they are invited to join in God's work in the world.